My mind races like Mario Kart, but in a blue blaze is how I organize these thoughts. I need too many pages.
What's up, my wizards? Dev from the place down there with the magic stuff. Mostly decks, which is what we're doing today, actually, it turns out. Pro Tour Magic Origins just happened just a couple of days ago, it turns out. And we are sort of known as, I think, a deck tech channel by this point. That's what we do a lot of the time. So we're going to just cover what everyone cares about, sort of the best decks from Pro Tour Magic Origins. Not just the ones that finished highly and had a huge impact on the format, blah blah, but the really, really cool ones too. So I'm going to give you sort of the 8 decks that I think are awesome from Pro Tour Magic Origins. Not necessarily the top 8, you know, the top 8 finishing decks, but just the coolest decks, and the last few decks are going to be the most impactful decks. But we'll get to that, and some of those are really cool. So let's go ahead and hop right to it. Some of these are really awesome. Well, in at number 8, I'm going to give it to Andrew Cuneo, the only guy piloting this deck. Blue-Red Sphinx's Tutelage Turbo Mill. The thing is, look at this thing. Like, it's actually pretty crazy, it turns out. Lots and lots of cards that just say draw cards. That's what we are worried about, is drawing cards in this deck. Magnetic Insight, Tormenting Voice, Treasure Cruise, lots of things to draw us cards so that we can Sphinx's Tutelage the crap out of them. And it turns out that their library goes down like really fast. Probably awesome for like FNMs and stuff, and fairly cheap to build, all things considered, so compared to some of the other things. So I think this is a really, really awesome looking deck. Like it a lot. Here's number 7 for you. One of the coolest decks all weekend. Like, hands down, this is the one that sort of everyone couldn't stop talking about. This is Green-Black Pact. Yeah, Demonic Pact was all over the place actually this weekend. One of the breakout cards of PT Magic Origins, amazingly. There were Blue-Black Pact decks, which we've seen already this format. There were Soul-Tie Pact decks, which were awesome, like control-y sort of pact decks. And then there was this, just one person piloting this deck, a former Pro Tour champion, actually. And it is hilarious. What you do is, it plays really, really mid-range. He wants to get into the mid-game, and once it does, you can, you know, Demonic Pact, bellow up, Woodland Bellower, up an invasive species to bounce the pact back to your hand, and it's really cool because that happens often on the 6th turn if you're doing it on curve, which is when you've already used a couple of Demonic Pact options, if again, you're doing it on curve, which a lot of the times you will. He says, play Demonic Pact on the 4th turn every time you have a chance to do that. Don't ever wait to play it. Or at least that's what he and another Soul Tie player say. So, and the Soul Tie Pact decks look really, really cool too, but I had to give it up for this ridiculous Green-Black Pact thing. I've liked Woodland Bellower since I first saw it, and this is really confirmation that it does some cool things, and it probably does even more than this. So I really, really do like the deck, and I'm starting to come around to Demonic Pact. This thing's cool. Here's number 6, and it's really farther down the list than a lot of players would have imagined it would be, honestly, but it was still there. This is Abzan Rally, and this was sort of part of like a tier 2, very low tier 2 combo deck that we actually did a deck tech on. I really, really like the deck a lot. It's a lot of fun to play. It's my kind of thing, honestly. But in this iteration of it, it's not so much a combo deck, although it can win very quickly off of like Mogisa's Marauder coming into play, something like that. But it is a little more turtly. It's just, you know, mostly 3 mana, all 3 mana and under creatures, which is awesome. Mostly 3 mana creatures, and some other things. But mostly it just wants to take advantage of Rally the Ancestors, obviously, and Collected Company as much as possible. The deck just keeps coming at you with lots and lots of creatures, very few spells, no spells outside of Company and Rally, so the rest is all creatures, and there's 21 lands, so it's like lots and lots of creatures coming at you all the time. And really, really cool deck. It just relies on value, not some kind of crazy combo or anything, although again, Mogisa's Marauder can come down and ruin their day, but for the most part, it's just about getting your dudes back and getting your dudes off the top of your library for free with Collected Company. The deck is just a value engine, and it's very, very neat. Love the deck. It just didn't do as well as anybody thought that it would. Here's number 5, it's Soul Tie Control, which did have a pretty large presence. A couple of tournament players calling this the best control deck in the format. Some of them only played Jace. That's their only creature. This one opted to play Dim Protector, Tassiger, you see that a lot. Some of them played Courser, Krufix, some of them played Nissa. Occasionally you'd see a Liliana, but not very often. So pretty large spread in how these decks operated, which is really cool because that means there's a lot of flexibility depending on how you want to play the game. But Soul Tie Control looks like a really, really cool deck right now, and it has some degree of flexibility, some degree of offense to it, which is pretty cool, especially the ones that play Nissa. I really, really like those. This is the highest finish for a Soul Tie Control deck I could find. It looks pretty solid to me. I've always liked Soul Tie as a color combination and really like it as a control deck, and this deck really shows off a lot of its potential. Number 4 is Abzan, the old granddaddy. It feels like Abzan is so old now, but it's like only as old as Khans of Tarkir. You know, it's only as old as Siege Rhino. And it will die with Siege Rhino. Because it's going to be a thing as long as that card's in the format. We can all agree on that. Abzan is a deck. It has been a deck for quite some time. Really benefits from the inclusion of Nissa, obviously. And now you're starting to see more Tassiger pop up in these Abzan lists. Aside from that, it just plays like how you would feel Abzan would play. This one overplayed Elspeth, but highest finish for an Abzan deck I could find, so that's cool. This one is a little weird compared to some of the other more traditional Abzan builds that were at the tournament, but again, highest finish I could find for an Abzan deck, and this one is really cool in the right ways. It's a little funkier than traditional Abzan, but that probably is why it finished higher. People didn't expect some of the things this deck was doing. But really, really like this version of it, but it's still Abzan, and we all know what Abzan does. Number 3 is Green-Red Devotion, the deck that a lot of pro players tested very, very hard against and thought would be the deck to beat here at PT Magic Origins, and it turns out it did have quite a few high finishes at the tournament. And really, again, let me just say this, didn't do as well as everyone thought it would, mostly because the 2 decks that finished a little higher, at least on my list, and on probably a lot of people's lists, go up under it. That's pretty much the accepted strategy to beat a deck that goes this high up onto the curve and just wrecks your day on like turn 5, 6. Like, just try to go up under it as much as you can, which is what the other 2 decks do that finished higher than this. In any case, Red Green Devotion is still a ridiculous deck, you know. A lot of players, Raphael Levy, Magic God Raphael Levy, were playing See the Unwritten in this deck, but this deck, the highest finish I could find, played absolutely 0 spells. Except for Xenagos, I guess, and creatures. I count Xenagos as creature. It's like a planeswalker dude. But anyway, yeah, Green-Red Devotion, still a very, very important deck, and will be until the format rotates, upon which this deck will be DOA. It's a completely dead deck upon rotation, so celebrate. Number 2, piloted by Mike Sigris, this is Blue Red Ensoul. An awful lot of Ensoul decks at this tournament, actually. And you can see why. I mean, second turn, Darksteel Citadel that becomes a 5/5 indestructible, really, really good, and survives Languish, which is actually a huge deal. And obviously, Ornithopter becoming a 5/5 flyer, big deal. Shrapnel Blast is an insane card in this deck. Sometimes you can deal 10 damage in one turn off a couple of Shrapnel Blast and just end the game out of nowhere. So, deck has a lot of explosiveness and volatility, and it's just very, very exciting to watch and play. And a lot of people really high on this deck right now, and I don't blame them. This deck is awesome. This deck is super awesome, and it will probably immediately die upon rotation because we don't get Ensoul, we don't get Shrapnel Blast. It's just, we still have a lot of good cards there. This deck does not play Thopter Engineer, but that was a huge card at this tournament. A lot of decks played it, and a lot of decks loved it too. Really good play on the 3rd turn. And Whirler Rogue has really established itself as a great card, and out of the sideboard, Thopter Spy Network is probably one of the most important cards of the entire weekend. So a lot of funky cards really coming into their own, and Blue-Red Thopters, for lack of a better term, really making itself known to be an actual deck. You know, as long as it's got Ensoul and Shrapnel Blast, it will be an important deck in the format. So, and it's really awesome. We all want a deck like this to be good. I would feel remiss if I didn't also talk just for a second about Hangerback Walker, by the way. This thing really came into its own. We were starting to get a hint of how good it was, but really came into its own this weekend. A fantastic card, it turns out. People kept saying things like, oh, it's a blocker that leaves behind blockers. You know, it's an attacker that leaves behind attackers. It's an attacker that leaves behind blockers. It's just a million things this card does. It's often played as, you know, a 1/1 for 2 mana. Which a lot of people talked about even before this weekend. Just a very, very good way of playing the card. You know, in Turtley games is awesome because it just gets bigger and it punishes them for waiting to remove it. It punishes them a lot once it gets big enough. So Hangerback Walker is an actual, real thing. I hate to use the word, but it's here. It is here, guys. Hangerback Walker is a real card, and it's going to be here forever. So get used to it. Number 1 is a deck that probably not everyone wants to be good, but I do. I'm probably in the minority there. But in any case, this is Red Aggro, piloted by Joel Larson, the Pro Tour Magic Origins champion. And this is the 2nd Pro Tour in a row that Red Aggro has won. It won Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir too. So dominating force in the format this deck is, and only got better with some of the cards from Magic Origins, obviously. Lightning Berserker really came into its own. Another great card against against mass removal, especially Languish, which was a force at the tournament, but wasn't as important as we thought it was going to be. It was in every deck that played black. Yes, it was a presence at the tournament, but maybe not as important as we thought it was going to be, partially because of cards like Lightning Berserker, Red Aggro, enormous presence. I actually think it was the most played deck at the tournament this weekend, and we can obviously see why. Goes up under Green-Red Devotion, like I've already said, and that's very important when everyone assumes Green-Red Devotion is going to be the dominant deck. Goes up under a lot of the things because a lot of people were playing Control again against Green-Red Devotion, trying to go over the top of it, which just doesn't work, it turns out, as well as going under it. So, Red Aggro, definitely awesome, I think. And this one is really cool. Most of the cards only cost 1 mana to cast. That's really, really, really cool. And it only makes like Abbot of Carol Keep better, especially in later turns, the third turn even. So I really, really like the deck, and I don't know that it dies upon rotation either. Although we do lose important cards, Lightning Strike, and especially Stoke the Flames, but we'll see what we get to replace them. Red Aggro is usually good at the beginning and end of formats, and this is no different, it turns out, and I don't think that'll be too much different once the format rotates. Depends on what we get in BFZ, but a lot of the deck remains intact. Some of the important pieces, especially things like Monastery Swift Spears or Rebel Striker, things like that. So, really, really like the deck, and I think it's in a great position going forward, too. So, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is all of the decks that we really, really liked from Pro Tour Magic Origins. And don't forget, Worlds is just like 3 weeks away, and this is really cool for me at least. It starts on my birthday, August the 27th. World starts, and that weekend, 2 out of the 3 days will be the standard format. So we'll get to see the format and shift even more and develop and, you know, just evolve even more on that weekend. We'll see sort of where things go from here. Will Blue, Red, and Soul, is it just a flash in the pan, or is it a real deck for the next few months? Same thing with Green, Red Devotion. It's probably still going to be dominant for the next couple of months here, but have people figured it out? Same thing with Languish. Did people really sort of overvalue it going into this tournament? And because of certain cards in the format, it just wasn't as good as people thought it was going to be originally. So are people going to learn a lesson from Languish, or are they still going to make it work? Because it is an important card in the format, it turns out. Lots and lots of questions going forward that make rotation actually really, really interesting this time around. I know a lot of players are sort of down on rotation, but I think there's just so many cool questions here in the last couple of months when the format is completely as full as it can get, and there's so many options for so many different kinds of decks that it's really an exciting time to be playing standard Magic, honestly. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on it at least. In any case, if you like the content, you know what to do. Please like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to see more like it. You can watch any of these up here because they're all pretty good, I promise. I mean, I try to do good work. People tend to like it. But in any case, I'm Dev from MtG. Thank you, as always, for watching, my wizards.